Every single UFO that has ever been seen, from the typical flying saucer to the huge triangular-shaped UFOs, all belong to the same fleet. They are all part of the same single force. All the aliens ever encountered on this planet are just workers, drones created through genetic engineering. Whether it is the Greys, the Reptilians, any of them, they are all variations of the same species no matter how different they look. If you could examine the DNA of any of these aliens, you would find that it is more than 90% human. The remaining 10% of genes are added and manipulated to drastically change their appearance. So these aliens are in fact real people who have been deliberately deformed. Take the Greys as an example. That bulbous head might be caused by introducing Crozier's disease or some other genetic condition that causes hydrocephalic skulls. This huge head allows for big black eyes, again created by manipulating genes for size, shape and colour. They have been deliberately selected to appear emotionless. The entire face with its puny jaw lacks the ability to convey subtle information, which is the hallmark of all intelligent hominids. Their heads are obviously too large to pass through a birth canal. They were grown in artificial wombs, pods. Their bodies are designed to look frail but are very strong, and that unnatural grey skin could easily be crafted. There are many reports that the Greys lack genitals, and if this is true, it just confirms that they have been created because you cannot evolve without sex organs. The same techniques are used again and again to create the strange creatures found in mythology. Take a human genome, switch on the gene that causes it to be a pygmy, inject a gene for green coloration, and you have the little green men of flying saucers who also double up as leprechauns. But there are more extreme examples. Humans that are so grotesquely manipulated that they appear inhuman. These are Mothman, Lizardman, the Jersey Devil, the Brayfoot Beast, and in India, Monkey Man. They deliberately let themselves be seen in order to frighten the witnesses, who in turn tell others of what they have encountered. If you doubt this degree of genetic engineering is even possible, consider this. If we could grow a human ear on the back of a mouse, what could a civilization that is 100,000 years more advanced than ours do? So if the Greys and the Reptilians are only the workers, the creations, then who are the creators? We know of only one species that can space travel and genetically engineer other genomes: us. When Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, he was the alien. And it isn't even enough to be humanoid. It isn't even enough to be human to get into space. For as advanced as the Neanderthals were, it is generally accepted they could not compete with us, and therefore could not develop space technology. This doesn't make them any less human. It just shows the sophistication that is required to get into space. Everything in the universe is built upon and uses the same elements. The laws of physics are the same all over the universe. They are universal laws. Then we have chemistry, the mixing of those elements. So following the laws of physics, the laws of chemistry also prove to be under universal laws. Then comes biology, the stuff of life, which is made up of complex chemical compounds. So biology, logically, would also fall into the category of being under universal law, and it turns out that life is everywhere. And all that life is made up of the same 4 letters of DNA: A, C, T, and G, adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine. Life goes from a single cell to multicellular, from invertebrate to vertebrate, eventually evolving into fish, then amphibians, reptiles, dinosaurs, mammals, and birds. Any brain that can develop the technology to travel through space must always be the same: vertebrate, mammalian, primate, hominid, human, Homo sapien. So it is another group of humans from another planet Earth that are behind all visitations. This explains Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. Let us make man in our image, after our likeness. If we share the exact same DNA, then we share the exact same likeness. These alien humans have a plan. You find a planet Earth that has modern Homo sapiens on it, but who are still in a primitive stage of technology. They have to have the mental capabilities to develop further technology and science, but have not yet done so. For all our intelligence, until we understand our universe and our place in it, we are vulnerable. We certainly couldn't predict other humans would come down out of the skies. These humans begin with gifts and eventually develop relationships with different groups of people all over the world. They claim to be gods or angels. The first knowledge they impart is always agriculture. The people are shown how to select strains of plants and animals and are given basic techniques of horticulture, farming and irrigation in order to increase food production. But if you really want agriculture to take off, you build huge stone observatories such as Machu Picchu or Angkor Wat. These mysterious stone complexes have several functions, but first and foremost they are calendars, huge calendars that can be accurate for thousands of years. The aliens taught our ancestors when to plant using songs and ritual, plant when the sun was above a certain stone, count a specific number of days, and then harvest when the sun passes another marker stone. With this method, you can sow and reap vast areas. With enough food there is excess, and with excess there is trade, the beginnings of commerce, which drives the expansion of the population even more. People with more food have more time and can be given new skills such as metalwork. A person 5,000 years ago did not need to understand the processes involved in making bronze tools. He just needs to be shown how to do it. After all, metalworking is essentially heat and pressure. So specific cultures are set in motion. Different groups are given different languages, different appearances, their clothes and hair, and most divisive of all, differing religions. Religion is how a small group of people controls a far larger group. Knowledge, and therefore power, is given to a select few. They become the priestly and royal classes and are controlled by instructions from the gods. So infusions of new technology drives populations on until after a few thousand years the land is exhausted. All natural resources have been turned into human flesh. Then the final part of the religion comes into play, Armageddon, the end time, when everything is falling apart. But salvation is at hand, because the gods will send down their angels with their chariots so the faithful can join the gods in the heavens. All through history there are dozens of examples of people disappearing, millions, entire populations, no bodies or skeletons ever found, nothing. They just vanish without a trace, and that is impossible. Millions of people moving north, south, east or west would leave a trail. There is only one way to disappear without a trace, and that's up the way. Our ancestors walked on board these UFOs thinking they were going to be with their gods and that they were leaving a wicked world behind. Think of the Christian rapture. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 17. We which are alive and remain shall be caught up with them in the clouds. You see, they are getting us to farm ourselves, which is why there are many farming metaphors in religion. The Lord is my shepherd, lambs to the slaughter, a harvest that is ripe. We farm ourselves, then they reap us. We see this in the Bible. Revelation chapter 14, verse 15 says, Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time has come to reap the harvest of the earth. And the purpose of harvesting is revealed in Revelation chapter 19, verse 17. Come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of God, that ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men. They are high-tech cannibals, and that is why the Christian Eucharist encourages the faithful to see bread and wine as the body and blood of a man. They are prepping us. They consume much of our DNA in their efforts to maintain their immortality. Their medicine and technology is so advanced that natural death can be avoided. But there is a terrible price to pay for immortality. These alien humans have consumed most of their own species. There are no women or children, because no more death can mean no more breeding, but you still require huge amounts of DNA if you plan to live forever. So what do? You raid other planets. And as we come into the modern age, they have to find creative ways to pass on this knowledge. And how do they do it now? The UFO crashes. Doesn't it strike you strange that a craft that could negotiate the vast distances of space would end up crashing on the planet it visits, especially when it seems to happen so regularly? These crashes are often spectacularly staged. Even severely damaged tech can be salvaged enough to be reverse engineered. This was how the Nazis were given their wonder weapons, which were then scooped up by the Americans and Russians and started the space race. Then the Roswell crash puts even more technology into American hands, eventually leaving it as the world's only superpower for now. And then you have the aliens that are often recovered alive from these UFO crashes. These particular aliens used in these staged events are different from the normal variety. With death and life capture possible, there are vast amounts of junk DNA in their genome in order to confuse the scientists who will study them. But receiving crash test technology does something else. It buys your silence. Do you think the American military are going to admit to this? Of course not. But this silence allows these alien humans to continue with their deception. It could be there are governments who believe they are working with the aliens in some sort of partnership. So let me be clear here. No matter what they have offered you, power, technology, whatever, you will be liquidated the same as everyone else. They are using you. And as for those living aliens that you have stashed away in your secret bases, these are biological transmitters sending information back to their masters in the sky. So to the Americans and those others who are working with these aliens or who have them in their custody, I say this: terminate them. The scientific world first started to seriously consider the world was a sphere about 500 years ago. Yet here it is, at least 3,000 years ago, in the book of Isaiah, chapter 40, verse 29. It is he that sitteth upon the circle of the earth, that stretch out the heavens as a curtain, and spreadeth them out as a tent to dwell in. Not only does it state that the world is round, it refers to an expanding universe. Stretch out the heavens as a curtain. This metaphor is particularly apt because it infers fabric, and now scientists realise it is the fabric of space that drives the continuing expansion. This has only recently been discovered. These are scientific facts. You cannot guess them. They have to be discovered by scientific disciplines such as cosmology, physics, and meteorology, methods that we had not yet developed. Look at the situation in the Middle East. You have the Jewish nation in the middle, the Christians on one side, the Muslims on the other. These alien humans want us to go to a third world war, and when we have slaughtered millions, ruined our economies, destroyed our infrastructures, used our weapons, then they will come. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 13, verse 39, the harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. These alien humans will do anything for immortality except die for it, and that is their weakness. If we can unite together through peace, we can defeat them. So to these alien humans I say this: bring it on. The time for honouring yourselves will soon be over. You know who I am, and we will meet soon enough.